Just a couple of quick parish notices, Tim, admin, boring stuff that we have to do.
Don't start the show like that. Start the show with something more exciting, like, hey, everyone, welcome to the show. You can't just launch into that.
Oh, okay. Is that what I'm doing wrong?
No, that's right. You can't just go, all right, Tim. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unmade podcast. It's wonderful to have you with us. Hope you've had a wonderful week. Please grab a coffee, take your seats, and we're going to start with Brady doing some admin.
Can we do that thing that podcasters do where I say, I'm Brady Harron.
And I'm Tim Hine.
Yeah, excellent. 173 episodes, and now you tell me you've got to have a good start.
You've got to have a good start. What we need is do you know what we need? Oh, this would be great, is we need like a voiceover. We need Pete Smith or one of those great voiceover men from when we're young to do a big introduction at the start.
Yeah. Okay. I'll see what I can get. I don't think I can get Pete Smith. I'm trying to think what famous person I know would help me.
Who was the guy that did The Price is Right? Remember way back when Ian Turpie was hosting the Australian Price is Right, and there was someone else that would go, hey, welcome.
I think like crusty old Australian TV shows, we're going to be thinking modern. I'm trying to think what contacts can I utilise in the, social media and YouTube world. Like, think about the youth.
So nighttime chat shows have this kind of character, don't they? That person that sits off to the side and sort of says, everyone welcome. It's the Late Show with,
Yeah.
Do they? What do they do?
No, I'm thinking like Mr. Beast or someone we need, like Mark Rober or some famous YouTuber or.
Oh gosh, that all sounds a bit too hip and trendy for me.
Hey, this is Mark Rober, and you're listening to the Unmade podcast with Brady and Tim. Let's hear their latest crazy podcast ideas, plus some boring admin stuff at the start.
Now can I do my boring parish notices?
All right.
All right, thank you. Glacial podcast is still going. A few people have been doing a bit of a hack to get it into their actual podcast player. This is the 1 word a week podcast. You're probably familiar with Glacial podcast by now. It was suggested as an idea on the show. Because I'm an idiot, I decided to make it. And because I'm a completionist, I now can't stop. So I'm making this 1 word a week podcast as a little side project here on Unmade. Some people want it in podcast players. At the moment, the only way to listen to it technically is to go to this little page on the Unmade website. Some people want it on podcast players. I've heard you. Go and have a look at the links down below if you want to find out how to get it on your podcast player. And, by the way, because I want it to be like a real podcast and occasionally it has like sponsors and all stuff like that, despite the fact there's only 1 word of content per week, you can sponsor an episode if you want. But for December, every episode is being brought to you by a special randomly selected guest patron. So it'll be, today's episode's brought to you by Bill Smith, the patron. So go have a listen in December and see if your name's on there. Are you the lucky guest patron?
Didn't you love on Sesame Street where each episode was brought to you by a letter? The letter O.
Loved it.
That was cool.
Loved it. Yeah, genius. Can I talk about our other side project for a second, Tim? This is our advent calendar that's running through December.
This is a wonderful seasonal project. I'm really feeling the spirit of Christmas through this project.
Can I just have a moment to reflect in the glory of what a great idea this was? Even better than I realised. And can I tell you why? For those who don't know, our Ultimate Fantasy Advent Calendar, we're making a mini podcast every day through December for patrons to listen to, where Tim and I give each other fantasy gifts. Money, logistics, nothing is a barrier. We just say whatever we want as our presents for each other. You can listen to it if you're a patron. On Christmas Day, you'll be able to listen to all of them as one big mega episode, whether you're a patron or not. But while we're doing it at the moment, Tim and I are recording these at the moment and publishing them. It's so much fun, and it's so lovely, and it's such a good thing to do, even more than I realised. And I think I'm realising why. It's because it's got everything good about giving presents without, like, the cost. But I'm still getting immense pleasure from thinking about what to give you and researching it and deciding, even if it's something completely pie in the sky. And I'm also getting such joy from the presents you're giving me because you've thought about me and you've thought about what I like and you've done a bit of research into what I like and you've done something kind for me. And every day we're doing all this kindness and all this thinking about our friends and being considerate and the giving of presents, which is great, and the receiving of presents, which is great. But there's no problem of cost. You can just choose whatever you want. And the fact that I'm not actually getting the thing doesn't really matter because of all the other niceness that's going with it. And this has proven to be such a nice exercise, just each day thinking about each other, what we like, what kind thing we want to do for each other. I think people should do this everywhere around the world all the time. All through December, each morning when you wake up, you know, with your partner or your family, your friends, just say, today, this is what I'm giving you as a gift. I'm not really giving it to you because I can't afford it and it's impossible, but this is what I'm giving you. And they turn to you and say, and this is what I'm giving you. It's such a wonderful exercise. Are you finding that? Or are you finding it just a pain in the butt?
No, I'm enjoying it. I mean, I do think when I was a kid and I was hoping for a BMX and if my sort of mum and dad had said, we're giving you a BMX, the best BMX you could ever imagine. The BMX from BMX Bandits, you know, a real, you know, mongoose. Just as a fantasy idea, you know, just to feel the good feelings. I think I would have been a bit annoyed. But
yeah, okay. As a kid.
Yeah, as a kid. As an adult, though, this is great because you start to value that's what a card is, really. A card is words, just things I'm saying to you about you. And this is another way of doing that by putting it into a fantasy object.
It's the thought that counts. And I'm sitting here saying, Tim, I spent last night thinking about you, what you like, what you care about. I went and did some research and read about the things you love and you care about. And now here I am to talk to you about it and imagine that I would like to give you this. And it's just a really nice thing to do between two people.
I think it's a nice thing to do. It's also something you could do as a sort of a secret Santa in the workplace. You know how there's a lot of pressure now to sort of, okay, we're just going to get something that's going to be $10 for one person, but actually sitting around and just going around the room and saying, you get one person and you get to say what you could buy if you could buy them anything in the world. You've actually got to think much more carefully about that. It's got to be personal and it'll be a nice, nice sitting around having some drinks, you know, around the circle and going around and saying what those things are. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. There we go. If you want to go hear it, go check it out. It's in the request room feed for Patreon supporters, so you're getting them every day whether you want it or not. And as I said, Christmas Day, we'll paste them all together into one big mega episode that everyone can listen to as a board on Christmas Day exercise.
Because what you could actually do is we could actually create an unmade advent calendar, but but just inside it could be like writing, like you could just write what it is. And so you open it every day and it just says something and you know what I mean? Like, you know, the hat and whip from Indiana Jones or, you know, like something.
Yeah.
And that's actually a thing, to open it and read it and then the person gets to explain it.
I tell you what, it was interesting. Last Sunday night, obviously there's a bit of time displacement because I'm in the UK and Tim's in Australia, but last Sunday night, Tim and I both went to big music shows. I texted Tim to say I'm off to something, and then Tim said, I'm at something right now. So I thought that was a nice coincidence. What did you go and see, Tim?
Well, I went and saw AC/DC.
Whoa.
Yep.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
Was it good? Was it good? I know you're going to talk about it later, but was it good?
Oh, no, it was good. Yeah. I saw them 10 years ago and it wasn't very good. And so I went along with some family. I was sort of gifted a ticket by some extended family that were in town because it was attached to, you know, these concerts are sometimes attached to like an auto race. This was like the supercars car race. And so this was like the after show, you know, the after race show. So they were coming into town because they love the cars. But then they said, I said, well, look, I'd love to come along. And they got me a ticket.
Yep.
It was fantastic. It was a really great show. It was musically fantastic. It was a spectacular. And it's just fun music, you know, great, simple rock.
What was your favourite? What was the highlight? What track was the highlight?
My favourite song of theirs is called "For Those About to Rock, We Salute You," which is the one that they always close the show with. And they have these big cannons that roll out on stage, and the cannons fire off at particular, moments in the song. Boom, boom. And it's just so over the top and hilarious and wonderful. Yeah, that's my favourite. But it's also fantastic rock, wonderful melodies, great grooves, great riffs, great sounding. There's 2 members of the original band still in the band, but everyone else sounded pretty good too. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went to the O2 Arena in London and saw a big spectacular show as well. But my show was Hans Zimmer.
Oh yeah,
the
right.
music composer. He's done the music for loads and loads of films because he works with Christopher Nolan now, and Christopher Nolan's like on fire. It seems his music's really been in the spotlight. But Hans Zimmer's been an amazing composer for a very long time. The Lion King score he did, of course. Interstellar, Inception, Gladiator, of course, some of the recent Batman movies, like you name it these days, he seems to be the man. He's really creative. So he put on this big show, and it was a huge, big stage, and there was like all lights and spectacular stuff as well, but he had loads and loads of people on stage with him. I reckon sometimes it was 30, 40 people, it seems. He seemed at the violinists everywhere and a horn section and guitarists and singers and everything, and it was just this like all this sound and music coming at you from all his greatest hits, all the things from the movies you love, but slight twists on them as well, so they sounded a bit different. And it was a great night. It was great. Really enjoyed it.
Was there like a screen with like giving you some indication of which film was which, or did he just play them like you had to recognise them?
Sometimes you just had to recognise them. There were screens, but they weren't using like copyrighted material from the film. So, for example, when it was the Da Vinci Code playing, like the great music from that, like the screen would have like, keys and mystery symbols and stuff like that. So you could often figure it out.
Oh, okay, yeah.
When it was Interstellar, it would be like spacey stuff and all that. But also sometimes you would know because he'd talk about it. Like quite often he would tell a little anecdote beforehand, like, Christopher Nolan came up to me and he said he wanted this and this and I did this and this and here it is. It's from a little film you may remember called Interstellar or something like that. And everyone would go, oh, woo, yeah, I love this one. And so sometimes it was specifically told to you what it was. Other times you just recognised it. Other times I didn't even know what it was from. But it was great. The Lion King section was fantastic. Had all these African singers up there and stuff doing all that. And that great score that plays at the end when Simba climbs up the rock having defeated the baddies, and he's in the rain, and that great music comes to a crescendo. That was amazing in the performance. The Gladiator bit was great because they had that woman that sings in Gladiator, that same woman came out and sang, and that was great as well. There were lots of great bits. It was good.
That's the crossover bit between our two experiences, because for those about to rock, we salute you. Whereas the Gladiators, always famously said, for those about to die, we salute you to Caesar. And the AC/DC twist on that. That's the connection point between our two musical experiences on Saturday night. Yeah.
It was funny because Hans Zimmer's like, a sort of portly old German bloke. And like, he's obviously a genius and he's just created some great stuff. But it was funny seeing him pottering around on stage because it was like he wanted to sort of live out his onstage rock fantasy. And occasionally he'd take the electric guitar and he'd play on this one. And he was always playing different instruments and doing different things, but he kind of looked a bit out of place.
Yeah.
Even though it was all his music. Surrounded by all these like mostly disproportionately number of attractive people around him, musicians playing all sorts of instruments and leaping around and doing amazing things, and then he's just pottering around with his electric guitar pretending to be a rock god, but he can do what he wants. He wrote it all. So yeah.
I'll tell you what I saw, not unrelated to this. Do you remember a character called John Tesh? Do you know who that is?
No.
We know him because he was a host on an American show called Entertainment Tonight that was on like at about 11 o'clock if you were sick from school, it'd be on. And it was always worth watching because it would always talk about the films that were coming out in America, which would take another 6 months to come to Australia. So that was its kind of angle with us. And he was like a cheesy host of that, right?
Yeah.
But I found out later he's also a pretty amazing musician. And it's like, whatever. I think I noticed that somewhere. But in a YouTube deep dive the other night, I came across a clip where apparently it seems he was the composer for the theme music for when NBA is on the television in America, right? Like this famous score that I'm not familiar with, but that everyone would. And what this clip was, it was him on stage doing a performance with an orchestra and a band. And the first thing he did was play a voicemail, which was his answering machine message back to himself. And the voicemail was, "This is John Tesh leaving a voicemail for myself. Here's an idea for that NBA thing. Dum da dum dum da dum dum bum bum be da bum 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 bum." Okay. And then he
using it as kind of a voice memo before there were voice memos.
Totally. Because musicians always say, once you get a melody in your head, you got to record that thing or it'll go. So, and then he plays that on stage with a microphone at the answering machine, and then he turns around with the band, boom, and they launch into it, and the crowd roars because obviously it's everyone knows it, right? And I thought that was a pretty fun and classy thing to do on stage. Yeah,
that's a cool thing to do. Funnily enough, like, it's kind of related. Just before we started recording this, I was waiting for you running another errand. So I had to go through some old emails and do a bit of Unmade podcast admin. And I came across the email I got from my art designer collaborator, Pete, with all the first logos he created for the Unmade podcast.
Oh.
There were like 6 or 7 suggestions. And I replied and circled the 2 that I liked most at the time. And one that I didn't circle was an incarnation of the one we've ended up using.
Oh, wow.
It was a bit different, but initially it wasn't the one that jumped out at me. But then he made some changes and then it became my favorite. But it was really interesting to see that, like what could have been.
Was the name settled at that point? Was it the Unmade podcast?
It was when the name had been settled, and he was just coming up with ideas for like a look.
Oh yeah, cool.
It was fun to see.
Wicked. To see. Nice.
I may share that at some point, as for the Unmade Podcast Museum or something. Anyway, ideas for a podcast. Tim, have you got one?
Yeah, I do. And look, it actually comes out of something that happened at AC/DC, because I mentioned that my extended family were there for the race. So they got there early all day. They were there all day. And then they made their way over to the stage area and got a good place. And I was really grateful for that because I was at home and did all my stuff. And then I just wandered down at showtime.
You didn't go to the car race?
Oh, no. There was, and they're just sort of Australian V8s, I was not interested in that, but I was interested in the show. So I came down at showtime, but there's 50,000 people that have been there all day, right? Plus more coming to the concert. And I was really grateful because I weaved through them all to find the family. Text message telling me, where they were. And I went through and they had saved a really, really awesome spot.
Right.
However, they'd had to stand there for 3 hours to hold on to that spot.
Right.
And I was like, oh man, geez, I'm so lucky for them to have done that for me, and I'm just rocking up now. But the great thing about it was just standing there for 3 hours, they got chatting to the people next to them who had also been waiting there for 3 hours for a good spot. And I turned up and I suddenly realized, and they introduced me to these people, and it was people that I had not seen for decades. The guy of which, Dave, was my first guitar teacher, who taught me when I was 16 years of age, including teaching me how to play some AC/DC riffs way back then.
And they hadn't made the connection, obviously, before you arrived.
No, they got no idea about the extended family. It's like, this is my sister-in-law, and of course they're not going to go, oh, do you happen to know my brother-in-law? I mean, that just didn't come up all day. There's no reason for it.
I'm surprised by that, though, because everyone in Adelaide knows you, so I'm surprised it didn't come up somehow. But anyway.
So it was wonderful. It was like hugs all around and wonderful to see you and how great and what have you been doing and what have you been up to. So that was that was a wonderful coincidence. So that brings me to my idea for a podcast, which isn't just about, hey, coincidences and bumping into people. I wonder if
because we've done that. What a coincidence.
We have. I think we've done it a couple of times.
Coincidentally, yeah.
But this idea is called Meet Your Mentor. That is being reunited with someone who was your mentor early on, but now it's like, the student has become the teacher, or not quite, but you've reached the stage where they were at when they were mentoring you, that kind of idea. And
nice.
You get to share with them about what you've done with what you taught them way back, where you went from there, the journey, what you do. And so we had a great time chatting, Dave and I, about what guitar have you got and do you still play and what bands are you in and all that kind of stuff. I wish I had progressed a little bit further than I had, since he did a lot with me when I was 16. But it was great just to be able to chat with him. And I said, have you still got that, Stratocaster, that black and white one that I love to play on? He goes, yes, because I remember him buying that. Do you still have that Marshall amp where you screwed the wheels on the bottom so you could roll it around? He goes, oh, yes, now I'm getting older. I'm really glad I did that back in 1992. And I could remember it exactly. And it was just a fantastic conversation. Meet your mentor.
I like this idea. I like it a lot. Meet your mentor. And like years later, going back and what do you want them to know? What do you want to talk about with them?
It's kind of like a reunion episode, except it's with a particular person who played a particular role in an area of your life, probably your vocation or even just in life, a mentor, like a person who was good to you, taught you some life skills, taught you to drive maybe, or a craft, carpentry or something special, a great passion. Do you have someone that comes to mind? Who's your mentor?
I do have someone coming to mind that I think would make for the best episode.
Aside from myself, obviously.
Of course, it's you. There have obviously been a few mentors. In newspaper, there was like my cadet trainer, who was a guy called Bill Guy, who I have a lot of affection for. But the person I think I would choose is someone, I guess I can talk about him. Well, I'll talk about him. I'll tell you the story, if you got time.
I'm afraid we're out of time. This is where we need the compere to come in and go, I'm afraid we're out of time now, and thanks for listening to the guys.
There was this guy that the BBC employed. He was this American guy involved in television and video and that. Quite a sort of a brash New Yorker type guy. Quite a polarizing figure, I always found, because he had such a strong, big personality. Some people loved him. Some people found him a little overbearing. But he was employed by the BBC to train lots of their staff to become video journalists, which was this new concept of this sort of one-person band who can film and edit and be a reporter, rather than 6 different people doing all the different jobs to create TV reports.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot more common now. But it was a new thing at the BBC, and he was brought in from America, and I imagine he was paid an absolute fortune to deliver all the training and to create this new concept. Now, I was part of this early group of people who were trained in this way. I was not a TV person. I was like an online person, but I was seen as having some potential. So I was sent on this course. There was this continuous stream of courses being done where 30 or 40 people would be sent and trained and then released back to the BBC, then another 30 or 40. And I was in one of these waves of courses. And I was trained by this guy in this 3-week intensive training course to go from being an absolute nobody who'd never held a camera, and at the end of 3 weeks I could film and edit and do everything. Mm-hmm. So I did this course, and he told some stories and taught us some lessons that stick with me to this day. So he did do that kind of mentoring role. There were things he said and lessons I learned from him that I now teach people as well when I'm involved in any kind of training or mentoring. So in that respect, he was a great mentor. He was quite famous for berating people when they did a bad job, because at the end of each day we would show what we filmed and everyone would watch it as a class. We'd go through all these videos everyone had made and he'd say this was good, this was bad. But sometimes he would really pick on people, and I think some people found him quite intimidating and overbearing in that way. I didn't. I got my share of you did that poorly, you did that well. But anyway, that was the way it was. So anyway, I did this course. I went back to the BBC and became a video journalist, and I took to it like a duck to water. I think, it was something I enjoyed. It's still my career now. But a few years later, the BBC introduced did this pilot program where they were doing something to do with video journalism and stuff. And they wanted to get all the best video journalists from across the BBC to be part of this program. And I was chosen as one of the good video journalists So I was part of this program. And everyone was had been trained to different levels at that point and were at different levels of competency.
Yep.
So we were all sent to do this same training course with the same guy again.
Yep.
But this time, some of us were quite good at the craft and could do it quite well. Most of us didn't really need to be trained, and it became more of a team-building exercise for 3 weeks. But we still had to make all these videos, and they were still shown to the class each day and stuff like that. And I went into sort of a real kind of overdrive show-off mode during these 3 weeks, and I tried to really outdo myself and be really creative and clever and do things that no one else was doing and really think outside the box. I don't know. I think I was just on a creative hot streak at this time, and everything kind of worked and went well. And every time we were showing the videos at the end of the day, mine were always became quite looked forward to, and what would they do? And this Michael guy, he was always quite impressed by what I'd done, and it got to a point where mine was usually one of the last videos shown each day, and people would say, okay, what's Brady done today?
Yep.
And I feel like I'd gone, the first time I went through the program, I was a nobody, and he would not have remembered me. I was completely unremarkable. The second time, I'd become someone of more interest to him. And on the last day of the course, all the big BBC bosses came to watch the final videos we made and thank us all and stuff like that. It was like, graduation day. We showed all our final videos again, and mine was shown last, and it was a really good one again. And everyone was like, oh, that was really good. And then in front of everyone, in front of all the bosses and everything, just as we're about to start this new program we've all been employed to do, Michael said, that's really amazing, Brady. You're too good to be working here at the BBC. You should come and work for me in New York. Come and talk to me afterwards.
Right. Okay.
In front of everyone, in front of all the bosses and the management and everyone who's about to start this new thing. And it was a really kind of weird, destabilizing moment. Because if I'd then left that day to go to New York, that would have been a really bad start to the project, and I would have created a really bad impression. So all the bosses called me aside afterwards and said, "You're not going to go to New York, are you? You're going to stay and do this, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I am." But when I had signed on for the program, I said, "Oh, do I get a pay rise for this?" And they said, "No, no one's getting pay rises." And I was like, "Okay, well, that's a shame." So I said to the bosses, when I signed on for this, I did ask for a pay rise, and I was told no. And they were like, "Really? No one told us that? Oh, that's ridiculous. We have to fix that. Oh, we're very, very sorry." So I got a little pay rise, and I've not seen him since, but we're sort of connected on social media. And now when I don't know what he does these days, but when things happen in my life, I launch a new project or I'm lucky enough to get some recognition or something, he's always there, one of the people giving me a little like or a thing like that. And I always think of the kind of, when you said, going from being the apprentice to the master, not that I'm a master or anything, but I always think, on day one of course one, sitting in the room and being an absolute nobody who didn't even know how to turn a camera on and being this nobody guy that was just being berated and told, "Oh, that was rubbish, change this, fix this," to this progression of him through in my life through the years, to the point where he really helped me and offered me a job and got me a pay rise and that sort of stuff. So I would love, if I was going to do your podcast, I'm sorry, I've spoken for way too long, but if I was going to do your podcast, I would love to sit down with him and have a talk with him, because he's an entertaining, charismatic guy, but also he's had this weird role in my life, going from being the bottom of the heap to having success with what he taught me to do.
It would be good having a third person there who was able to ask him, what did you see, or what was it about Brady that, I do know that mentors like to take, there can be a bit of retrofitting opinions that, there was always something in that person, but clearly there was, because he said it at the time, but it's good for novices like us to go, well, what was it? What do you see in his work now that he does then? Or what was he doing different that you go, oh yeah, no, you really get what I'm trying to say.
You're right about that retrospective thing too. That's one of the things I love about Mr. Donaiski, our old chemistry and physics science teacher from school.
Yeah.
Because now that I do periodic videos and 60 symbols and make these videos and teach the world about physics and chemistry, the few times I've gone back to him and talked to him about it and the successes I've had and how inspiring he was to me, he just doesn't remember anything about me, and he doesn't pretend to. He remembers I broke my arm on a camp where he was a supervisor, doesn't remember anything about me as a student, doesn't, didn't,
it's nothing remarkable,
nothing exceptional, doesn't take any credit for it. I like that. He's a really down-to-earth, humble guy, and there's no retrospective claiming of credit. I was just a nobody. He's the first to say it.
Yep. No, that's great. Beautiful. Love it. Yeah, that's great.
Nobody.
That would be an interesting shadow kind of episode, isn't it? To find someone who was that you're weak at, like for instance, to get my maths teacher on and say, and now Tim's, did you know that Tim was mediocre at maths? Yep. And are you surprised that maths has nothing to do with what he does now? Apart from reading a few finance spreadsheets. No, yep, absolutely. He's right on board with what I thought. Yep. He's gone in a totally different direction, which is exactly what he should have done. I'm very proud.
You mentioned bumping into David, your old guitar teacher, and him being a mentor of sorts. Would he be who would be your guest on the show? Would it be him? Is there anyone else who would be a good candidate as the special guest on Tim's mentor show?
I guess probably something that's closer to home is, my vocation as a minister. And there's a really great mentor that I had early on, a guy called, there's actually quite a few different lecturers and different people like that who were really influential. But in terms of being a mentor who took me alongside, and I literally did an internship with, it's another Dave, a guy called Dave Fuller, who's a minister in Melbourne, and he was brilliant. He was really fantastic. We met every fortnight for at least an hour and a half and debrief. He'd listen to my sermons and give written feedback and verbal feedback. This was in inner Melbourne, so there was quite some serious drug issues and social problems, and he just navigated those issues with me and talked about how to do that stuff. And
he helped you through them, did he?
Helped me through those drug issues. Yes, that's right. Saw me through to the other side. No, he was just put in the time. I really appreciated that. So many coffees, a lot of Richmond football games as well. But he was, just.
Do you have much to do with him now, to this day?
I don't. No. We see each other a little bit on social media, and I've sent him some messages. We actually haven't sat down to have a coffee for a long time, and I would love to do that when I'm in Melbourne. It's been a decade since I've probably seen him in the flesh. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, but really good guy. He married, Sil and I as well, and did our pre-marriage. So I do a pretty good impression of him around the home because he has a unique way of speaking that I adopt every now and then. It makes Priscilla smile. He's a legend. Yeah, great guy.
How come you've lost so much contact? He seems like he was... I know this just happens in life, but is there any particular reason? Just geography, I guess, if he's in Melbourne and you move back to Adelaide.
That's right. We're just in different circles. And he's there and he's, so there's no real reason to catch up except that he's there and I appreciate him. And I've told him I appreciate him. It's not like he's long lost or anything like that. It's just like we're both busy and living our lives and I think he's a champion. He's one of these guys who's very straight. Like he's a really... a worldly wise guy. Like he's actually in a Christian outlaw motorcycle club called the God Squad, which does, and he's doing that for 30 years, doing, stuff amongst ministry in the outlaw motorcycle scene. So he rides a Harley Davidson and he's a pretty, sort of tough guy and knows Melbourne and knows, tough people and does good ministry there. But he does it, but he's very straight. He has a great sense of integrity, like about first principles and what you do and how you go about it and good advice. Remember it. That's why he's a good mentor, because they're kind of with me still. It's almost like, what would Dave do? Oh, yeah, no, he'd say this. This is the sensible thing to do, to cut through the crap, to hold to this. He's not pretentious, and he's kind of like a grounding figure in my mind like that. And I really...
Right.
That's helpful still. He continues to mentor me because I remember stuff. That's the sign of a good mentor, isn't it? It stays with you, like you said about your guy.
I have to say, one part about that story I didn't tell was when Michael sort of tried to poach me in front of all the bosses at work and all the employees. One of the people in the room was my future wife, and I think that was one of the moments where Kylie was like, "Oh golly, this."
No,
paid it this Brady guy must have some I should pay attention to him. He's obviously, maybe he's got a future. So that was a really memorable moment in our relationship as well. We were just getting to know each other then, and I think that was such like a seismic event that night. I remember she was one of the people I talked to afterwards, and she was like saying, "That was amazing. What are you going to do?" and stuff like that. And
so why didn't you go?
6 months later,
that's the other thing. I mean, this is starting to turn into a movie script. You could have not. Married her. You could have gone to New York. There's a whole other way your life could have gone.
I could have gone to New York. Yeah. I was really enjoying the new group of people I just met and was working with. And I don't know, I was I wasn't a very ambitious person. Like, I was never like much of a go-getter, and that just seems like it probably would have been a lot of hard work and changing and uprooting, and he would have been a hard guy to work for. I said he was a good mentor, but he was a pretty big personality. I don't know if I could have worked for him.
What sort of work did he do then? Like, what would that job have been? Was it like a production house or something? Or
he did production. He did production of television programs. Would get commissions to make television programs for television channels, but also a lot of training, going around the world and training people to be creative video journalists and stuff like that. I don't know what he had in mind for me. I think he was probably just flexing and showing off as well. Like, I'm Mr. Charlie Big Potatoes. I can offer people jobs in New York, and I don't know how serious he was about it. I don't remember going up to him and saying, "What's the offer?" I just remember the bosses pulling me aside straight away and making sure I stayed at the BBC. So
nice.
It was a surreal kind of hour of my life, but I think it was a real turning point too. Yeah, it was.
You've touched on something that I've always liked about you, which is really interesting because you've gone from one success to another in your vocation, but you're not ambitious. It's really interesting. Your guiding light seems to be you want to do exactly what you want to do. Like, that's why you end up making, the Glacial podcast, which, patrons will see and other people, it's like you just want to do it because you had that idea and you've got to do that. And realizing an idea that you have gives you heaps more satisfaction than having like a super successful podcast or doing, you don't do things for the sake of success. You don't compromise what you want to do. That's there's a small difference there, but there's a real difference there, and I think that's a bit of a key, and I like that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. That's a nice thing to say. I think that's nice.
It is a nice thing to say. It's basically, because that's more like an artist than a commercial person. Like, in a strange way, you're like, I just want to sit here and write my poetry because I like writing poetry. I don't want to sell out and write a pop book, something. You know what I mean? Like, you actually just write good poetry, so to speak. It just turns out people want to read that poetry.
Nice.
So there we go. I don't encourage you to go writing poetry, but,
No, I won't do that. I won't. Shall we move on to a quick spoon of the week? Shall I hit the jingle button? Yeah. Let's do it. All right, here we go. Spoon of the week.
I think I've pulled a perler out of the box, Brady. I say I think because my eyesight's so bad, I can't. But I'm pretty sure this says Hahndorf. Is that right? Does it say Hahndorf?
Yes. This is another spoon from the Hine family collection, bequeathed to Tim. Yeah, this is from Hahndorf, South Australia, a small village in the Adelaide Hills. A lovely place to go and visit if you're ever in Adelaide. A short, what do you reckon, about 40-minute drive up to Hahndorf?
Oh, no, it's only about 20 minutes up the freeway. Yeah, much closer.
Oh, really? 20?
Oh, yeah, very easy. Yeah.
Okay, lovely place to visit.
It's like a little German town that has lots of little German-esque novelty shops and all that kind of stuff as well.
Yes. And it became a place where lots of, I believe, Polish I've read, but also a lot of German migrants went and settled, and it's kept this kind of German feel to it. In the middle of the Adelaide Hills, it's this little weird oasis of German architecture and German restaurants and German
bakeries with apple strudels and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it's very enjoyable.
Very pretty.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it'd be really tough getting a park there when you go, because it's popular with the tourists on that little road. But
yeah, it's effectively a long main street with, lovely tree-lined street, and so there's not a lot of parking. But it's worth going. You will get a park, and you just walk down one and walk down the other way back to your car, and away you go. And it's got a couple of nice sort of pubs where you can get some nice German schnitzels and things like that. So
I'm a real lover of German food. I love a good sausage, a good wurst, and things like that. So I never don't visit Hahndorf on one of my Adelaide trips. Great place to go. And this spoon, or usual, pretty typical ornate spoon, quite ornate stem, and looks, from looking at the picture you sent me, Tim, up the top there at the handle, we've got the typical enamelled picture which says Hahndorf SA, and there's a little cart, looks like a horse-drawn cart but without a horse, and a little cottage in the background. Very sort of Hahndorfy looking scene.
Yeah, German-esque or something European. It's not just, like it could have a beer steiner in it or something like that to make it a little bit more German. It's a little bit like, it could be Swiss, it could be a few things, couldn't it, really?
I think this is more of a nod to Hahndorf's farming heritage, because it was, before it became a tourist town and a tourist trap, it was sort of a little farming enclave. So this might be a nod to its more practical days before it became more of a picture postcard Instagram town.
I can say, before we moved to South Australia, when we were in Melbourne, we used to come over to Adelaide on holidays, and going to Hahndorf was a big deal because it was very. You can imagine with my my Dutch father going to the German town, which also has a few Dutch things in it as well. It was a real novelty because you got Adelaide and then you got this place, and it's just a little bit different. So that was always a special thing for us to do on our holidays, and I'm 100% certain we would have bought one of these spoons on one of those trips and taken it back, and here it is.
I had a quick look on the Wikipedia page for Hahndorf. I found an interesting fact that I don't think I knew or I had forgotten, and it is during the First World War in Europe.
Before you say it, let me guess what it is. I wonder if it changed its name.
It did change its name. The name was changed. Many places with German place names were renamed. Hahndorf was called Ambleside after the nearby Ambleside railway station, but the name was later reinstated in the South Australia Nomenclature Act of 1935. So from 1917 to 1935, it was changed to Ambleside. There are still references to the name Ambleside in and around the town today, but it is back to being well and truly Hahndorf.
Indeed.
Do you know where the name Hahndorf came from, Mr. Smarty Pants? After you knew that fact, can you tell me why it's called Hahndorf?
Hahndorf. There is a beer, Hahn. I wonder if there's some sort of root there, but I don't know.
It was named after Dirk Meinitz Hahn, and Dirk Meinitz Hahn was the captain of the ship Zebra that sailed to South Australia, and I think a lot of the migrants who ended up in Hahndorf thought, let's name it after him. So there you go. It was named after the captain of the ship. There is a monument dedicated to him that was unveiled in 1939. So next time you're up there, go and check it out, Tim.
Yeah, I can't even imagine where that is.
There is a picture of it on the Dirk Meinitz Hahn Wikipedia page, so maybe that will help. Good spoon, good town.
It is a good town. If you want to buy yourself some, I was going to say Blinkensops. They're not called that. What are they called again? Birkenstocks.
Birkenstocks.
Yes, there's a Birkenstock, very on-brand store there.
Blenkinsop was the name of the librarian at our old school.
It was, yeah, who I bumped into in Foodland the other day.
Of course.
Yeah, we had a right old chat.
Podcast idea from me. You up for one?
Absolutely.
Having told long anecdotes about myself in this episode, I'm less keen on this idea now because it might involve more of the same. But I like the idea, so I'm going to go with it. This podcast idea is called My 3 Stories. And the idea of this podcast is for guests, hosts, people on the podcast to regale the audience with their 3 go-to stories.
Right.
These are the 3 stories or anecdotes that you tell all the time. The one that your wife and your daughters have heard 1,000 times before. And every time the trigger to tell that story comes up in some social situation or a dinner party, like the moment arrives and Tim puts the shoulders back and says, "Oh, well, that reminds me."
Rub the hands together. Here we go. Yep.
Yeah. And your wife's going to go, "Oh, my God, I've got to listen to this story again." These are your go-to stories that even you're sick of telling almost because you've told them so many times. They're like your absolute staples. And we've all got them, and we all get told off by our wives and husbands and loved ones and families when we tell them again. They're the stories we've told multiple times on the podcast. These are the stories that, they're your stories. They're your go-to stories.
Yep.
We've
Right.
all got them.
So before we came on air tonight. I know you were texting with my family and they were being very sort of giggly and secretive and hiding the phone. I can see where this is going.
Well, I was going to ask you what your go-to stories are, but then I thought maybe you'll draw a blank or you'll freeze in the moment. So basically, I just said to your family, what are Tim's go-to stories, the ones you've heard 1,000 times before? So just in case you draw a blank or you leave out any important ones, I have got a little list here from your wife and daughters. What would you say your 3 stories are? What are the absolute Tim staples that you just tell time and time again? And this isn't to insult you. We've all got them because they just suit certain situations. I've also found a few common themes in them too, but I'll come to that in a minute. What would you say your go-tos?
Look, I'm not sure I can think of them, but I think there's a reason for that. I think people don't feel the repetition because you're used to telling it to different audiences. You're not aware of which audience has heard the same thing over and over. So I think it's a bit of a blind spot to try and call out your own stories. Yeah, so it's very hard to name.
It's not like they're sitting on a shelf that you've got that you just want to take them off. They're always triggered by something. Like there might be some incident, like when someone talks about like a serious injury they had, that reminds you of the serious injury you had.
Yes.
And then here comes the story.
Oh, absolutely. No, that's right. Yes. Because I feel like, and you're about the same. I guess everyone does. Everyone's got an anecdote for everything. So it's, no, I can't think of what my 3 will be. However, when you tell me what my family have come up with, I'm sure it'll be, oh, yes.
They've given me more than 3. And by the way, I did the same with my wife. I said to my wife, what are my stories? And I've got my ones too. Yeah, so I'm not just hanging you out to dry here. Let me tell you what ones were suggested by your wife and daughters.
Okay.
When he broke his bum on the rope swing.
Yes. No, doesn't need. We're not going to elaborate on these, by the way, are we? We'll just let them go.
When, as a child, he ate the mystery food down the side of his bed.
They bring that up more than I do.
I don't think I know this one.
Yep.
Okay.
Keep moving.
I don't think I know that one. I've got hot tennis incident. Hot tennis incident. Hot in quotation marks.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Tennis incident.
No, I mean that happens so often. I don't really. I can't nail that down to one.
I don't know if hot means good looking or temperature. It just says hot tennis incident.
I do remember the hot one now. Yes.
What is it?
This is one where does everyone internationally know what deep heat is? So
yes. It's like a balm type stuff that you rub on your muscles to put warmth into your muscles. Very pungent smell. And don't touch your eyes after you put it on your hands because it's very burny.
Well, it's not just your eyes. I went to the toilet.
Oh, okay. After putting deep heat
on my hands and wrist, like around my right wrist. And it was only when I was back out onto the court, I went, ooh.
Oh dear.
There's something burning downstairs. And
oh dear. What happens then? What do you do? Do you go and wash it off?
No, I pushed through because it was a doubles match. And I was like, I'll just be back in a sec, guys. And then I came out, and so I didn't feel like I could suddenly say, oh, hang on, just wait in the sun a little bit longer while I go back and just, try and scrape some skin off. Yeah, no, it was.
Oh, dear.
That was only recently. I've only told that once and to them, but it's a funny story. Yeah.
I'm also told Tim often tells stories about how he gets told he looks like Morrissey.
Oh yeah. I mean that was a real story. So that's turned up in a sermon because there's a good moral in it. So
what, the moral that you look like Morrissey?
Yeah.
What moral was that?
It's amazing how many different morals I can attach to the story to justify telling it again.
Have you ever told the deep heat on your willy story as a sermon?
No, that only happened about 6 weeks ago, but I'm sitting on it.
Okay.
Like, no pun intended.
All right. 2 more stories that you tell a lot, apparently. When he pulled up his socks and fell out of the tree and broke his arm.
Yeah, well, that's all there is to that story. That's just a kid. I was up a tree and I thought, oh, my socks are down because Dad always said you've got to pull your socks up, wearing shorts.
And last is one that we've all heard before. When Tim knocked on the door of C.S. Lewis's house and got in, and the bus driver said, "You are exceedingly fortunate."
Yes, that's a legendary.
Yes.
I think you and Kylie like that story much more than me. And
we do.
Yeah.
We use the phrase "exceedingly fortunate" all the time. Whenever a good thing happens to anyone, we always say they were exceedingly fortunate.
Oh, that was great. Is there any there that you think, I mean, that's not so much in the top three. Is any, okay, you pick one and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Is there any there you want me to tell you? I mean,
I want to hear more about the deep heat on your willy, man.
It wasn't the willy, it was further round.
Oh, okay. It was, okay, right. Sort of ring of fire type stuff are we talking?
Lasted most of the first set, yeah.
Oh dear. I mean, I've heard these stories, so I'm not sure I want to hear them again and again. Yeah, I'd like to hear about the mystery food down the side of the bed because I don't think I know that one.
Oh,
you ate the mystery food down the side of the bed. What's
yeah, they
going on
find
there?
this endlessly fascinating. What I did when I was a kid, you're that time when you're a kid and you're laying in bed for hours and hours waiting to go to sleep and all that. It's probably not that long, but it feels like you're there forever, just bored out of your brain, wishing you were still up watching TV or playing a game or something. And I was just laying there, and my bed was against the wall, so your hand just sort of slips down the side to underneath your bed, and it's like, oh, right, there's a tennis ball under there and whatever. You can sort of feel it down the side of the bed.
Yeah.
And I found something kind of mushy. Like, I wasn't sure what it was, but it was kind of mushy. And I put my I lifted my hand up to sort of smell what it was, and it smelled like kind of doughy, like crafty doughy sort of thing. But it wasn't a very unpleasant smell, so
Like Play-Doh.
Yeah, Play-Doh, but a little bit harder. And I smelt it again. I quite enjoyed the smell of it. And after a while, I tasted some. And as the
In the dark, so you don't know what it is.
Totally in the dark. Yeah. And then you fall asleep, you wake up, you forget all about it. And then the next night you're in bed again and you're there just...
You wake up in the ER.
And it's like, oh, there's that doughy thing again. And so then I tasted it again. And I guess it sort of tasted a bit like... like cake mixture when your mum's making a cake, but it's not been cooked yet. Yeah, it had that sort of texture to it. So I just sort of kept going. And I just think I just started slowly demolishing this thing.
Did you ever find out what it was?
No, I didn't. I don't remember knowing precisely what it was, but I'm pretty sure, the day comes when we're like cleaning under the bed and this thing comes out. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember the exact object what it was, but it was basically something that I had made in art at school. Like it was like it was like something, you've crafted it and it's not probably a piece of pottery or something it's not
like
gone
clay or something.
Yeah, it's not gone into the furnace. It's just come home kind of soft and you can I'm just been demolishing this thing.
Eating it in the dark.
Bit.
Oh, dear.
Oh, jeez. And I think now, and I go, that's probably, in me and causing all sorts of problems. But, I ate a fair bit of this stuff. Now, I just mentioned that one night, and my family found this absolutely hilarious and bring it up regularly. Whenever I'm eating something and I feel a bit bad or I've got a tummy ache, and they go, well, we know what that is, Dad.
What have you eaten this time?
Yeah.
What did you find under the bed this time? That's good.
But again, I don't bring that up. It's not a go-to story. It's a go-to story for them. They love bringing up these stories. What about you, man? What did Kylie come up with about you?
Here's the list that she came up with. The Claire Sweeney incident. Getting Jeff Dujon's autograph, Auntie Deb's horse, drawing on Nan's wall with a crayon,
yes,
moving out of a flat, getting Brian Lara's autograph, 2 stories involving governors of the Bank of England, and the speed dating story.
Oh, okay. I know some of those, but not all of them. Yeah. Which one do you think is your go-to? Your perler, the one that you're when you see an opportunity for it, you get a little bit excited.
Oh, look, probably the Claire Sweeney incident comes up a lot because of my work, because it's kind of work-related. I'm just trying to think how appropriate it is to tell on the podcast. I'll give it a go. If you want.
You have to tell us now. Now we're really into it.
All right. Now, you may not relate to this because you're such a pious man.
Yes.
But a lot of people will be familiar with this. And I think it really got its momentum from the TV show Friends, where there's the episode where they create lists. Ross and Rachel create these laminated lists. Well, Ross laminates his list. And this is a list of 5 celebrities who you like get a hall pass for, or you get an exemption for. You know.
Okay. I now remember this story, but please go on. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, for fun, one evening, Kylie and I think we must have just watched that Friends episode, or we were talking about the trend and that. So this is before we were married. We were just we were dating. But we were we were together. So we decided to create these lists. And Kylie would have listed 5, impossibly handsome, debonair movie stars. I can't remember who was on her list. You can imagine these sort of handsome Hollywood types. And then I created my list. And I can't remember who was on my list, but I do remember the 5th person I put on my list was this actress in the UK called Claire Sweeney. Mm-hmm. And she was like a pretty lady. She'd been on those lads magazines will create lists of, the 100 sexiest women in the world and stuff like that. Mm. And she'd been up near the top of some of those lists. She was known as an attractive woman. She was like a soap opera actress in the UK. She was in a TV show, I think, called Brookside, which I have never seen an episode of. Mm-hmm. I had never seen her act. I'd never seen her TV show. She was just a pretty woman I'd probably seen in the papers and stuff like that and remembered her name. So I put her on the list. And when Kylie looked at my list, she was like, I can't remember. She probably saw these famous Hollywood types. And then she was like, Claire Sweeney. It was like such an unusual person to have picked because she wasn't super famous. And she was like, why on earth would you pick her? And I just said, I don't know. She's like, I like the look of her. I think she's nice looking. She's like relatable. She's someone I could meet in the UK. I was like, I can't remember what I said. I just, and my wife just rolled her eyes and said, oh, whatever, you can have her on your list. That was it. We had a laugh about it. And that was the end of the evening. I was working at the BBC at the time. And the next day I went into work, and it was close to Christmas. And at Christmas they have these pantomime stage shows that travel around the UK. Every city has a big pantomime show where some B-list star will be in the show and people will go and watch it at Christmas. People are probably familiar with this whole, he's behind you type. They're for kids and families and they're fun. Anyway, I went to work and the boss at work said, oh, Brady, you got to go. There's something happening relating to the pantomime show at the theatre here in Nottingham. Can you go and do the interview and do the story? And I was given my briefing and sent down to the theatre. And would you believe it? The star of the pantomime in Nottingham that year, which I didn't know, was Claire Sweeney.
Wow.
And I had to interview her the next morning. So I went to this backstage area at the theatre waiting for Claire Sweeney to turn up. And I was waiting around for 10 minutes and then she turns up, just in jeans and a T-shirt. She was obviously just staying in town. And she turns up to this backstage area and says, hi, I'm Brady. She knew what was going on. She'd been called into this thing. And she goes, I guess I better put on my outfit. I think she was playing Aladdin, and she was playing the character Aladdin in the show that year. It's always something like that, like Aladdin or Peter Pan. She was Aladdin.
So whereabouts by now have you texted Kylie and said?
Oh well, let me get to that.
All right.
So anyway, Claire Sweeney rocks up. She goes to her. She's really lovely, really kind, nice lady, really professional. She goes to her changing room and then she comes out, and the outfit she has to wear for Aladdin is this shiny gold thing, and it wasn't inappropriate, because this was a children's show. But I would say it was very revealing.
Right.
Then I had to film with her. So I had to put like a radio mic, like a lapel mic, those little tiny black mics attached to a power pack on her. And putting that on is always an awkward situation because you have to get right in people's personal space and pin it here and there. And sometimes people can do it themselves, but you usually have to help. But of course, she's a professional actress and she's done this a million times and she's used to having sound people and camera people and engineers and all these sort of people pinning things to her and putting things there. She was just totally professional. And I said, so I pulled it out of the bag and said, I've got to put this on. And she's like, oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, go ahead, you do it. And just like put her arms up in the air, like as if to say, you come in and do your thing. So I found myself, and there was hardly anywhere to pin it because this outfit was quite scant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like as I said, it wasn't inappropriate, but it was I don't know.
Yeah, we get it. Arabian Nights. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I'm having to pin this little microphone around her like shoulder and chest area. We were both professional, right? But it was just weird that less than 12 hours before I'd been having this discussion with my girlfriend and future wife about Claire Sweeney being on my list. And now I'm pinning this thing on her top, and then there was nowhere to put the power pack. She didn't have any pockets or anything. So she was like, here, just put it down here on my pants and hide the wire in there. And it was quite nothing. It was nothing inappropriate, right?
You keep saying that. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Can I just say it again? But it was just amazing timing. So then I sent like a text to my wife and said, remember we were talking about Claire Sweeney last night? And she's like, oh yeah, you're not going to believe what just happened. So it was this amazing coincidence. So this has become, whenever I'm putting microphones on people and it's someone I feel comfortable with and we're joking about putting it on, this is often an anecdote I will tell about putting microphones on people. The day I had to put the microphone on Claire Sweeney after the conversation. As a little postscript to this story.
We're now together. And
But anyway, as a postscript to that Claire Sweeney story, the reason I was there was a little boy who was meeting Claire Sweeney and the other star of the show, who was Basil Brush. Basil Brush is a puppet. And any British person will know who Basil Brush is. He's like a very, very famous TV star puppet. He's like a little fox or a squirrel or something. And everyone in the UK knows who he is. I can't think of an equivalent for you, Tim, but like Winky Dink or Ozzy Ostrich or something like that. Really famous puppet. And this little boy who, I think maybe he was unwell or something like that, and he was having a special experience to come backstage and meet Claire Sweeney, and more importantly, Basil Brush. And the guy who was Basil Brush's puppeteer was getting set up along with Claire Sweeney, now wearing her microphone. And the guy was just sort of sitting on the ground. He was just sitting on the ground in this corridor holding the Basil Brush puppet, and he wasn't concealed by any structure, and he didn't have a sheet or anything over him. He was just there holding Basil Brush and moving Basil Brush with his hand and doing the Basil Brush voice. And I said to him, do you want to be covered up or anything? Or because this little kid's going to be here in a minute, and you don't want, it's going to kind of ruin the illusion a bit if the kid comes in and there's some guy with his hand up Basil Brush's bottom and talking when Basil Brush talks. And the guy said to me, you wait and see. When that kid walks in and sees Basil Brush, he will not look at me once. He will never even know I was here. And I was like, oh, really? And then sure enough, the little kid walked in. I think Claire Sweeney walked him in and said, look, little Johnny, here's Basil Brush. Do you want to talk to him? And Basil Brush went into his routine over the top. He's a really loud, charismatic puppet. And it was true as the kid never once looked at the puppeteer, didn't even think of it, didn't know it. And then he just sat there doing the voice and doing all the puppeting, and kid never looked, couldn't take his eyes off Basil Brush. There you go.
We see what we want to see. There we go.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. You're right. I am too pious to have engaged in any kind of activity like that.
Yes, you have not done a list.
And I've never met Emma Thompson. So
no.
So I don't have a story.
I did see Emma Thompson the other day. Walking down.
How come you get to live out my list? Not that there's a list.
Not that there's a list. Oh man, I want to know who's on your list now. Are they all really like square stars like Emma Thompson?
Or Emma Thompson was oh well, I don't know. I've always had a soft spot for Emma Thompson ever since seeing Sense and Sensibility when she ends up with Hugh Grant and he's the minister. That's nice.
Oh, she's got great taste.
Yeah, that's right. I see myself as kind of a Hugh Grant kind of minister. So, right.
Nice.
Oh, nice. So what was your idea again? Oh, the stories thing. Yeah.
My 3 stories. The stories you tell again and again and again, which I've just done again.
Yeah. No, that's good. I think that's great. I think people do have those. It is funny when you, because you and I have been friends for years, and when we're together and we're with other people, it's always been the case that it's like, oh, I can see what's going to happen here. Brady's going to pull that one out of the quiver, and there he goes. And you kind of enjoying it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Riding side saddle with the story.
But then I was thinking, what are the three stories my wife tells all the time? And I started coming up with her list. And really briefly, the ones I first came up with was a Christmas present she received when she was a little girl, this Wendy house type thing she got when she was a kid.
Right.
She always tells a story about how happy she was coming downstairs and getting that. Breaking both her feet within a couple of days of each other in separate incidents when she was very young. When she was traveling around India and everyone calling her Titanic or Kate Winslet, because that was the film at the time, and everyone would see her, and because she was like this, pretty English woman.
English belle, yeah.
Yeah, everyone would just go, Titanic, Titanic, whenever she walked past. And also, and interviewing David Beckham at Glastonbury, which had a sort of funny incident to it and a funny lead up to it.
Right.
And these are, I think, among the most common things. Presents you received that really left a mark on you, injuries that you had, being mistaken for celebrities. Everyone has a story about that.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your Morrissey one. I had a funny one involving Ewan McGregor at an ATM machine once. And meeting celebrities. Like these four I came up with for her. It was amazing to me how they're four of the key categories in these stories.
I think the meeting people of significance and celebrities, I think that's true. That people look for an opportunity to be able to bring that out. Yeah.
There you go.
Nice work. Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. And I think if the stories work, even if you don't know the person, then this is good podcast fodder for sure. Yeah.
What's your wife's most common story? She dropped you in it. Why don't you drop her in it?
Oh,
Has she got one that you're like, oh, do I have to hear this story again? Or when she starts telling it, you like zone out because you've heard it so many times?
What does she say? She talks a little bit about, there's not a real anecdote to it. She just brings up how we saw Prince live and what Prince was like when we saw him live, which is not a very Sil thing, but she seems to mention it a lot.
Okay.
She tends to tell stories of me. Like she'll tell, like one of those, like, oh, Tim,
right.
like, and one where I come off looking like a bit of a goose. There seems to be quite a stack of those. So a lot of her best material.
Sounds like we need to get her on the podcast. I'd like to hear some of those.
So she went to Indonesia on a trip many years ago, and all these men kept coming up and like asking to marry her or for them to marry. So she does tend to remind me of that quite a lot. That there's several dozen wedding invitations.
Yeah, I didn't know you guys even met in Indonesia.
That's right. Several dozen marriage proposals that she turned down before she accepted mine, and how lucky I am. Yeah.
Well, what could have been, hey?
Well, that's right. Indeed.
Oh, there we go. My three stories. Podcast idea.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, no, that's a good idea. Give that a pass. Well done, man.
Okay, people. Enjoy December. Patrons, don't forget to go check out our daily advent calendars. We're recording them like crazy. There's all sorts of amazing gifts being given. I gave Tim a gift in one we recorded today that was worth $400 million.
That is so generous. Really generous. Longer episode, but good episode, that one.
Yeah. A bit self-indulgent. I might try and cut my stories down a bit.